Hi, welcome to Self Generated. My name's Steve. I'm the host and creator of this podcast. If you've been listening so far, thank you. We're going to explore a little bit more into the idea right now about that the extended mind civilization is a keynote to what makes you you. It kind of sounds weird because you think, well, I'm me, I'm my own biological me, and that's just it. And whether whatever it is, it's me is magical or biological, it's still coming from me. And that's not wrong. That's true. But at the same point, a lot of what you believe to be true, your models, how you understand this world, what you take in, what you're modeling and emulating and trying to be and do is based off of what's out there and what other people tell you that's out there, how you've learned what's out there through education, through your family, all of that history is the building of models and understandings and how you predict the world. And if you predict it in one way, you're going to act in one way. And if you predict it in another, you're going to act in another, but you're not going to act in a way you don't predict. That's what people call us crazy when those things don't match up. It's not magic, it's just the nature of things. And that a lot of our outside world, the way civilization works, if you take a pause and you take a look, fucked up. I don't know how else to put it. It's fucked up. There's a reason that in the most advanced society in human history, we have an ability to communicate with any human being on the face of the earth. With Starlink, you could be in the middle of the fucking Pacific Ocean and you could get on chat roulette and somebody could show you an offensive image, their genitals, or have a conversation. You don't have to be alone, but we're the most alone that we've ever felt, or at least that's how it can feel. Why are we so alone when we're capable of being so connected? If you live in a city with thousands of people, you can't find friends. You feel isolated. Your identity just, it doesn't make sense. Who am I supposed to be? What am I supposed to be? You don't have people having children. Society is dying, literally. The amount of people is dying. People don't want to continue on. And by that, what do I mean by that is that if things are so great, why are we changing so fundamentally? And there's a lot of arguments talking about moving from agrarian society and this and that. But what I'm saying is that if you're happy and healthy and safe and things are going great, you'll have kids. You'll want to adopt kids. You'll want to have a family. You'll want to feel connected. If you don't know what that is, if you don't know what that experience is, if you had bad experience, you won't want to replicate that. If you're not in a community minded area, you won't want to. So society makes us this way. There's a reason that in Japan and in Korea and in these places in China, they don't have a birth rate to continue to supply society as is. It's going to be a major issue. It's going to fundamentally change the societies as a whole. And that this is a canary in the coal mine for that we're living in a world that is not natural, that is not meant for us, that is not how humans have always been. And it's not that we're all supposed to have 50 kids and do all, but what I'm talking about is that we live unnaturally, down to our core, down to what it means to be human. That we're not prioritizing social being because that's not as productive, because that doesn't match the current narrative. And we see that we don't have kids, we don't have people having families because we are making ourselves sick and isolated because of the extended mind is true. A lot of what makes you you is imprinted on you. It comes in through your learning, through education, through school. These systems, if you think about it, if you're a Westerner and you went through a Western school and you went through 12 years, do you remember a whole lot of your math? Can you do trigonometry right now? Can you do anything above basic math without a calculator? Can you recall specific historical events? Can you XYZ? Most of the answers are going to be no. But you know what it did teach you? It taught you to stand in line. It taught you to only talk when spoken to. It taught you to work in groups. It taught you to show up at a certain time and leave at a certain time and you had breaks. It taught you to be a worker. It taught you to be a cog in a machine. It taught you to follow authority. That's what education in the Western world and even in the East is meant to do. Makes you compliant. I know that sounds conspiratorial, but that's the truth. What do you remember? Do you remember all the details of the War of 1812? Do you remember why we went to the Civil War? Yes, some people are going to actually remember that. But if you look at a lot of people don't remember that. But you know what they'll remember? If they want to speak, have to put their hand up, standing in line, complying, following rules. That is what education is for. It's to make you fit into the system. The system is not meant for you. That's the problem. It's meant for those that built it and run it. And we put them in power because we don't understand this. And we even do this thinking that we're doing the best thing, that we're being democratic. But when you pause and you look and you analyze everything, you can see that there's holes in the system, that it's not just conspiratorial, that, hey, wait a minute, if I'm voting for who I want to be in power, how come these people have been around for 40 years? How come their kids are in the system? How come all of their friends and family work in different industries? How come when they leave, they get paid from companies that they used to oversee and legislate? How come they keep increasing their own pay and their own benefits, but they don't increase the minimum wage and benefits of others? How come they can invest in stock market? How come people who are in government who invest in the stock market do almost 12% better on average? How is that? How do all these systems work? Well, it's actually two parties. It's always two parties. Well, other people can run. How come they never actually get up there? Because it's the system. We don't pause and look at the system. We just call it democracy and we move forward. It's not necessarily democracy as one would think, meaning that you and I are fundamentally deciding our own fate and governance and how things work, picking between a dog and pony show of who actually does run us, which is wealth and power. And it's not just America, it's everywhere. China is not communist, it's run by Xi Jinping. Russia is not democratic, it's run by Putin. You have Samsung and these big wealthy companies really pulling the strings all throughout the world. Other interests other than citizenry, other power bases other than citizenry. That has not actually been properly implemented anywhere, I think. And that's one of the things that we can change collectively if enough of us just realize it. That's it. You don't have to fucking do special stuff. No blood has to be drawn. No crazy shit has to happen. Enough of us have to pause, realize, and start speaking because there's a lot of different reasons the world is like this, and in no small part, those who say nothing, which are the vast majority of us, give volume to the minority who speak. And a lot of the minority who speak are just speaking in order to make themselves feel better. That's not to make them be sound stupid or to gaslight them. That's because that's how active inference works. That's how embodied cognition and the extended mind work. And if they can't offset the signal, seeing something that is challenging their belief, they need to do things to make themselves feel better, to offset their error signal. They need to undermine, they need to have other groups and people reinforce that belief. These are just byproducts of being creatures of active inference, creatures of certainty. We don't need to get angry at them when we understand that it's a process that they don't understand themselves. And then we need to be responsible if we understand that it's the process that we're going through. And it's not a flip switch. It takes a lot of time. You need to experience it yourself, right? Not understand it. I'm not talking about fuck understanding. Understanding is just a word. I'm talking about you experience it. You get it, right? How many times have you been through something, reading something, trying to understand something from school or not, a new sport you're trying to figure out, a book, a story, or piece, a timeline, whatever, a storyline on a TV show, and then all of a sudden you get that epiphany moment, bam, you get it, you understand it, you experience it. That's what we're talking about. Experiencing the world for what it is without needing it to be something else. But acknowledging that a lot of the ways that you might look at it, that I might look at it, that other people look at things might not be true, and it's okay. It's okay for them to look at it that way. We don't need to belittle them. We don't need to do things in order to make them lesser for that idea to be okay. We need to learn how to be okay with it ourselves. That's the power. That's the empowering part. Not needing to model it to be something else. And if a bunch of us together can do that, that's the point of being human. You're not going to do it on your own. You're not meant to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. Even if you did, how could you tell if it's true? You have to be able to judge with other people. That's the point. Lone wolf is a fucking myth. It's a myth. Same with the alpha wolf. You realize that you go ahead and look that one up, but the alpha wolf being a true thing is it's not. It was wolves being held in captivity act unnaturally. It's actually why that alpha wolf type of mentality can be seen in humans in prison. It's probably a condition of sentient minded creatures being oppressed, being kept in confined spaces, being kept in a unnatural space. Does that change your understanding and experience of the idea of being an alpha male or an alpha male mentality? Did you know definitively that the guy who coined that term, alpha male as in wolves, wished he hadn't and has been trying to get people to not talk about it in that way? Did you know that? No, you know why? Because it challenges the narrative of our truth. It's there. I'll put a link up. It's true. But you won't be able to find it easily because we reinforce what we want to believe to be true. We don't give a fuck about truth. Your perceptions are not meant to design to be able to determine truth. Your perceptions are not direct reflections of reality. You're not meant to. That's why a circle can be an illusionary circle. It can look like a circle and not actually be there because your system doesn't give a fuck. It errs on the side of caution. Close enough is a biological imperative. And these things are counterintuitive to how you think you probably work. And all you have to do is learn to get comfortable with those ideas, and then you can actually see them in action. You can experience them, and that can be empowering. You can see people in ways that you never thought possible. You can experience acceptance, love, compassion, freedom, freedom from uncertainty, doubt, fear, insomnia, hate, suffering. Not cured, but not ruled by these things anymore because you do not model them for what they're not. Easier said than done, doable, nonetheless. And again, I'm trying to figure out ways in which to describe and explore these ideas. I'm putting out these little snippets. I have my full form ideas or full form video episodes. I have the first 5 that are available. But also join me on X, SelfGen Podcast. Link is in the description. We're going to be having discussions on spaces, and you're more than welcome to jump on and hell, join us. Ask a question. I'll give you the mic. Shoot me a DM. This is how it starts. Us. Self-generated podcast.